آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعد الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. Alright, so now I'm going to say the translation of it. So the first ayat, the believers are but one brotherhood, so make peace between your brothers, and be mindful of Allah so you may be shown mercy. O believers, do not let some men ridicule the others, and they may be better than them, nor let some women ridicule the other woman, but they may be better than them. Do not defame one another, nor call each other by offensive nicknames. How evil is it to act rebelliously after having faith? And whoever does not repent, it is they who are the true wrongdoers. O believers, avoid many suspicions, for indeed some suspicions are sinful, and do not spy or backbite one another. Would any of you like to eat the flesh of their dead brother? You despise that, and fear Allah. Surely Allah is the acceptor of repentance, most merciful. And the last ayat, O humanity, indeed we created you from a male and a female, and made you into peoples and tribes so that you may be able to get to know one another. Surely the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous among you. Allah is truly all-knowing and all-aware. All right, guys, so that was the Quran recitation. I'm going to pass it off to our president, Zikranaz.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. Today we gather here in the vibrant city of Atlantic City to celebrate the rich legacy of the Black Muslim community here, a community whose history is often overlooked when discussing Black history in academic settings. Atlantic City is over 150 years old. Black Muslims have played an essential role in shaping its history through business ventures, through politics, and through the masjids. You will see throughout the event photos of people whose stories rarely made it to the books. Every year, we retell stories of the same figures, from Malcolm X to Sumaya, who was the first murderer in Islam, who is African. Though they have earned their ranks of one of the greats, today we wanted to unarchive the stories of the people that are close to home. Many of us have lived in Atlantic City for years, yet we know so little about how the city got to where it is today, the foundation of the city. This event was put together with the intention to bring to the forefront vital narratives and lessons of resilience that I hope we will foster understanding and proactivity in this and in the upcoming generations. Failure to preserve our own history will weaken the very foundation of this community. I'll reemphasize on that. Failure to failure to preserve our own history will weaken the very foundation of our community. It's not merely a reflection on the past, but a call to action for a more just and equitable future. By actively participating in this ongoing narrative, each one of us has the power to shape a legacy that the future generations will proudly inherit. So with that being said, I wanted to start the event, but I do want to give a shout out to all the collaborators. If we can have Vanessa come up, y'all. Go ahead, Shane.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shane. I'm on the e-board for UBSS, the Unified Black Student Society. I'm the Community Service Chair. And I just want to talk about UBSS for a little bit, make it really short and sweet. For the mission of UBSS is to educate others on African American history and culture, while also providing a safe space for students to learn, explore, and share experiences with others who look like them. The main reason we wanted to collaborate with MSA on this event is because we want to show our support to Black Muslims, the Black Muslim community, population, on campus and in our community, as well as educate ourselves and our members on the legacy of Black Muslims in Atlantic City.
We also have Sankofa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Vidal Malik, Sankofa Retention Initiative on campus. Sankofa's main mission is to solely ensure that all students, all male students specifically, are able to progress through their academics. We create safe spaces on campus, and we also allow them to have the ability to join our newly mentee program. The reason we collaborated with MSA was to, of course, spread the awareness and to let everyone know that Sankofa is open for all male students on campus, and we support all of our students. Thank you.
Minorities in law.
Hello, my name is Sterling, and I'm the president of Minorities in Law. And Minorities in Law basically assists students in preparing for the law school process by focusing on LSAT, preparation, and ways to improve your GPA when you're in undergrad. We offer workshops, panel, general body meetings, and community support. MIL also encourages volunteering and networking opportunities with organizations to help students navigate the law school admission process. And the reason why we wanted to collaborate with MSA was to promote inclusivity within the legal system, ensuring that the views and needs of the minorities, including the Muslim communities, are considered and represented in every legal decision, and also learning and educating ourselves as well in the process. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rachel. I am the vice president of the NAACP. The NAACP is a civil rights organization that is working in the community and at Stockton University to create an equitable and equal opportunities for all students of color. It was really important for us to collaborate with MSA to not only talk about like African Americans, Muslims in our community, but our topic and our focus is race and justice, and also voter registration and leadership, and having our voices be heard is imperative and incredibly important. And this event is just, one big step towards that. Thank you.
I'm going to pass it over to Imam Bilal.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We could do better than that. Even for those who are not Muslim, we're going to hear some terms tonight you may not be familiar with. So assalamu alaikum is peace and blessings to you. So we extend the universal greetings of peace to our neighbors and our family and our relatives. You may hear Allahu Akbar, which is God is greater than anything you can think of. Or you may hear Alhamdulillah, which all praise is due to God. So we're going to try that one more time again. Everyone should respond. Wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, that's a little bit better. We'll get there throughout the night. I'm sure people are probably hungry. We will have food shortly, God willing. I would like to first introduce myself. My name is Imam Bilal Hassan. I am the co-executive director of New Freedom Works Incorporated. It's a community development non-for-profit that myself, Brother Mujahideen, who's working the boards back there, is live streaming this event, and Sister Marsha Nivens. We do cultural and historical preservation as one of our tenets as this organization. So we have the boards in the back, which is, you'll get a chance to look at them. This is a sample size. When I say a sample size, literally is just a sample size archive of the larger archive that we have, which is called the Bilalian Night at the museum. So tonight you have a sample size of that in the boards in the back. So throughout the night, you get a chance, please do look at the boards and the information, because some of that information is relative to the conversation that we'll be having tonight. I am also the chair of the HBCU MSA Coalition, which is a coalition that was established to help charter and sustain Muslim student associations at historically Black colleges and universities, and open to Black Muslim student associations across other colleges and universities, which we work with as well. So, alhamdulillah, it is an honor and it's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening at Stockton University in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Can we give it up for Atlantic City, New Jersey? Make some noise. It's an honor. It's our second time here, but a more formal. We were here last year with Stockton and one of the academic departments, and now we're being hosted by the Muslim Student Association at Stockton University. Give them a round of applause for the Muslim Student Association at Stockton University, and shout out to all the co-sponsors as well who are here, who are making this event successful as well. I would like to introduce a couple more people who will be joining us on the panel, on these comfy couches, I call it, the comfy seats, in a minute after we play the video. If Brother Dean Harris can come up, and Brother Lester Muhammad, if you can come up briefly to introduce yourselves before we play the video. And I will also introduce one of our other esteemed guests in a second.
Assalamu alaikum. I was born, raised in Atlantic City. Matter of fact, I feel as though I'm coming back home. I got friends who I've known over 55 years. Farouk. We were on the same baseball team, like his sister now. Omar McDaniels. We go back. And also, Askia Baines is here from Philadelphia. We go back 50 years. So I feel like I'm returning home, seeing friends. I was the first graduate of Muhammad University, so I keep on that label. That's nothing about me right now. Lester Muhammad, who I've known like 55 years as well.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
You know, I grew up in the uptown inlet, and growing up in the inlet, there were so many people that we grew up with. Farouk, all of these people, a lot of the people grew up in the inlet. But there was really something very special about the inlet. You had a Muslim community in the inlet. You had at least 10 families living within maybe a half a block or a block from the temple, which was Muhammad's temple number 10, which was really historic at that time. We didn't have that. We can get back to that. But I'm just here. I grew up here in the city, graduated from high school here, Atlantic City High, moved out to Chicago in 1975, working on the secretarial staff and administration in Chicago, the Temple, Chicago, Illinois, and came back here, 86, and back on to Chicago in 96, and now I'm back here in the city. And this is one of the programs that we wanted to do to preserve the history. One thing that she's here, and I'm trying to get her, the Dr. Ridley got it. She's in here somewhere. Right.
Stand up, please.
Wow. I have to listen to you. have to say this. There was something, we didn't know a lot of this history that you're going to see tonight. We didn't know this, a lot of some of the history that you're going to see tonight. It was this sister, along with Sister Guada Abdullah, Brother Donnie Corbett, that actually interviewed Minister Woodrow Love and recorded him, and it was preserved. I had no idea, as you will see, that Al-Haji Malik Shabazz was here in Atlantic City in 1953, being trained as a minister under Minister Woodrow Love. Lived right here in the city. Unreal. Unreal, when she told us that history. And the other when he told us that history. And the history dealing with how, and you'll hear this in the video, that the government officials did not want Islam nowhere in the state of New Jersey. Think about that. That's all I have to say for right now.
Thank you, Brother Dean Harris and Brother Lester Muhammad. We also have esteemed guest, Imam, Council Member Kaleem Shabazz. Kaleem, Mr. Shabazz is with us, alhamdulillah. So we have all walks of life here represented, alhamdulillah. And this is beautiful, and we're gonna play the video, let the video speak for itself, and after that we'll have a brief conversation on the comfy couches, comfy sofas, God willing. So sit back, enjoy the video, take some mental notes, questions that may arise.
Muhammad speaks. This is Minister Malcolm X substituting as a helper for our beloved leader and teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and broadcasting tonight from Muhammad's Mosque number 10 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. That's Muhammad's Mosque number 10 in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Assalamu alaikum. We welcome you, brothers and sisters, to Muhammad's Mosque number 10, to our Youth Day program. This is a beautiful night by Sister Bernice and Sister Glennis.
A beautiful night. Of all the days and nights of the week, Thursday night is the one we see. It's like taking a step toward progress. That's why we like Thursday the best. On this day, women of the Black nation gather to discuss unity and not the weather. We discuss our strides that we have taken and the religion of Islam, which cannot be shaken. We learn how to improve ourselves and nation, and thank Almighty Allah for the awesome temptation. We learn of the earth which we help to build, and we learn how to protect ourselves and nation. It's a beautiful sight to see the women of the Black race sit in silence, charm, and grace, where there is joy and sometimes a feast, among hundreds of women where there is nothing but peace. All this is worth feeding, Thursday with a smile, but for Allah's love, we would walk a million miles.
Lisa, Sister Marie, and Sister Lorraine X. I is for Islam. S is for our faith. L is for our Lord. A is for the advancement we are trying to keep. L is for the million to follow in death. Assalamu alaikum. The blessing of being black. Black men no longer have to be poison animal eaters. We now can escape the black man beaters. If you're one of the so-called Negroes with fear in his eyes and looking for a God way up in the sky. So listen, my people, and I will tell. My brothers and sisters are living in hell. Dear God, Allah is here on earth. He is here now, and He was here first. So submit to Allah and learn of your language, culture, and land. Then you will have freedom, justice, and equality right on hand. You surely will escape the lake of fire. because heaven is where you get your desire. So, my people, don't wait until last, though you may be still here to burn like gas. Tag by Brother Stephen X.
Thinking about going solar, but not sure whether it's worth it for your home? Well, before you get quotes, there are 3 things you need to know about going solar and one easy way to find them out. Number 1.
The black man thought the white man's flag was high until he saw the crescent up in the sky.
Hassan Sharif of Washington, D.C., introduced him to Elijah Muhammad in Chicago, who immediately recognized Brother Woodrow as a skillful engineer. He was assigned to create and oversee the installation of the very first security and intercom systems, both inside and outside of the residence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the temple, and the headquarters for the Nation of Islam. He subsequently became the mastermind who wired the armory in Harlem for the first time. Any major event since the mid-1940s that required sound and photography, Brother Woodrow was responsible for the audio and visual engineering that broadened America's perspectives of the Nation of Islam, how we would be perceived by others. By the mid-50s, he served as the national consultant based here in Atlantic City and was the point person Malcolm X was sent from Chicago to study and train to be a Muslim minister. On 16mm film, Brother Woodrow has originated a history featuring Malcolm X in his early years, and this film footage has been utilized in numerous venues over the years. According to my oral history interview with him in October 2004, he remembers the importance of Temple Number 10 in Atlantic City, and I quote, "For 7 years, every time and everywhere Muslims tried to meet, local government officials and the FBI would threaten followers and their families with arrests, loss of jobs, and intimidation, and in a few cases, actual beatings for attending any meetings in the city," unquote. When asked what occurred to change this, Brother Woodrow responded, "The only thing that started cooling things down was that a brother, his name was Joseph, and we called him Yusef. He came out of his service, World War II veteran, and said that he was not going to go to school and take no courses." That was the GI Bill that was involved at that time. He said that he was going to take the opportunity to register to get the money, buy the temple, and then turn it over to the nation. And that's what he did, and that's the only thing that stopped them. That's part of history. Brother Joseph, who lives in Pleasantville, was Brother Woodrow's secretary, and that house, which was located at 419 Madison Avenue in the block where the Uptown Complex stands today, became Muhammad's Temple Number 10, the East Coast headquarters for the Nation of Islam during the mid to late 50s. Every Muslim minister in training came the distance from Boston to Washington, D.C. to Atlantic City for instructions and to learn how to establish temples. Brother Woodrow Love, together with Malcolm X and others, laid the groundwork and initiated the opening of 14 other temples during those years. Like some nearby, such as Philadelphia, Camden, Trenton, and Newark, and other temples as far away as North Carolina and Florida. Briefly, in closing, we talked about how Malcolm would come back in the summertime, and he would come down Pennsylvania Avenue and walk down the boardwalk to Chicken-Bone Beach. He loved Atlantic City and came here regularly in the early years, and even when the national spotlight took up a great deal of his time, Malcolm would come here for rest and relaxation. Brother Woodrow Love, a laboring pioneer who has left an impressive legacy of perseverance and faith in the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. His memory must be honored and respected for the years of dedication and love. A brother among men whose labor will live on. Respectfully, Dr.
Do not buy solar panels. This panel is much more powerful and it costs $0.
And I met Malcolm X at the convention in Chicago. And Malcolm came to me and said, brother, said, it's like all the other ministers sitting up there looking so beautiful. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to work. I want to work with you. And I want to stay with you. And so I said, I couldn't do that, brother, unless I got permission from the other Bilalian Muhammad. And I asked, and he says, take him to make sure that everything would be guided right for him. So I feel that he would be quite an assist to the nation. And so I told Mac what he said. When I got to pack it up, I thought Mac was going back to Detroit. His brother was. And so Mac woke up and said, let's go. He came to Atlantic City. And the first time that he was privileged to go to Philadelphia, I appointed him. So he was from Atlantic City. And then Minister passed, and I was 7 in New York. And then his first appointment was from the Bilalian Muhammad. And he appointed him to go to New York.
Oh.
And
So what
later
years
on,
were they with? Like this was like 1950 by that beginning?
Yes.
50. Okay.
And later on, when you heard Brother, we pushed
David back in the
in Atlantic
40s
City.
in Atlantic City. It was
And
number 10 out of, double digit temples for years. I was always wondering, how did Atlantic City, little old Atlantic City, get to be 10? I think Philly is 12. They got their number after we did. We're right behind Youngstown. I always kind of wondered.
If this history is to last forever and forever and forever, those 7 years what we put in to that, to make it number 10 is a history of that.
So we're going to talk about the pioneers
Is the
from that
10th
perspective.
temple that is connected to the history of the existing of the new nation. New nation. So many police, so many government officials surrounding the place we were meeting until no member or no one on the outside couldn't get in to hear anything because they were blocked. And that went on right here in Atlantic City for 7 years. And I wasn't able to hold no meeting for 1 month. And when they found out I was meeting there, they were threatening father, children, wives, and everyone else who attended. And the mayor called all the ministers alliance and told them to sacrifice because they didn't want Islam nowhere in New Jersey. And all the preachers and all the people who worked for the city or had any government job couldn't come to no meeting, either their family. And they made us move the 7 years when they found out that we were holding a meeting there. That threat came to their family and they had to put us out. And that's what went on with me and the other members for over around 7 years. And the only way that they slowed down and they completely stopped, a brother came out of service and his name Joseph, and he came out of service, and after he embraced Islam, he said, "Brother, I'm not going to use my privilege or education. Say, I'm going to buy the place for you, for the nation."
Now, where was this place? What's the location?
419 Madison Avenue.
419 Madison?
Yeah.
Here's one thing you need to do before buying anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch
The legacy of Lil Hajj Malik Shabazz. We look at that legacy in the extent of what a person lived for, what a person died for, and what in fact he would want to be remembered for. We as Muslims are told that in fact, when you hear the footsteps leave the grave, there's only three things that remain of you. That's the literature and information that you have taught others that continue on after you. The righteous Islamic education that you in fact have given your children, and those forms of continuous charity, and others would say also a good name. When in fact we want to examine what El Hajj Malik Shabazz believed in, we have to focus on the messages of the Holy Quran and on those things that have been exemplified and laid out in the traditions of our prophets of Almighty God, Allah, that came before us. There's a statement in the Holy Quran that all scriptures will bear witness to. For in fact, it has not changed in neither in any of the scriptures of God. It holds true to this very day. It held true then, and it's one of the things that inspired Malcolm in his life. Almighty God, Allah tells us in His Quran, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, say, "Come, I will rehearse what Allah God has really prohibited you from. Join not anything with Him. Be good to your parents. Kill not your children on a plea of want. We provided sustenance for you and for them. Come not nay to indecent deeds. Whether open or secret, take not life, which Allah has made sacred, except by way of justice and law. Thus doeth He commanded you, that ye may learn wisdom. And come not nay to the orphan's property, except to improve it, until he attains the age of full strength. Give measure and weight with full justice. No burden do we place on any soul, but that which it can bear. Whenever you speak, speak justly. Even if it is a near relative is concerned, and fulfill the covenants of Allah. Thus doeth He commanded you, that ye may remember. Verily, this is my way. Leading straight, follow it. Follow not others' path. They will scatter you about from His path. Thus doth He have commanded you, that ye may be righteous. Moreover, we gave these books to Moses, the books, completing our favor to those who would do right and explaining all things in detail, and a guide and a mercy, that they may believe in a meeting with their Lord. Truly God has spoken the truth. If in fact we want to look at what was the legacy of Malcolm, Malcolm wanted to live what Almighty God Allah had placed in this Quran. He's died as what is called in this land a shaheed. That means he died standing up for the righteousness and the truth that Almighty God Allah has showed him in the Quran. He died a Muslim. He died one practicing submission to the will of God. He was one who answered the call that is given to us in this Quran when God says, I have purchased from you your very souls and everything you possess. Rejoice and triumphant in the bargain in which you have made with me. This is the statements from God. This is how he lived his life, rejoicing triumphantly in worshiping God and bowing down to God, in giving charitably for the cause of God, and spreading truth and righteousness for the cause of God, and then laying down his life, as it says in the Quran, for my every prayer, my every sacrifice is for the Lord of all the worlds. The example for us in our lives, live that example. Vis-a-vis, you call yourself Christian. Vis-a-vis, you call yourself Muslim. Vis-a-vis, you call yourself whatever particular religion you have. That is the challenge that's been given to you by God. That is the commonality we all share. That is the goal and the objective of all mankind. Live what God has given us.
Look.
If Brother Dean Harris can join me on the comfy couch, comfy sofas, we're gonna have a little conversation, inshallah, on what we saw, which was a glimmer actually of the video. Brother Dean Harris, you can take this mic here. No. There you go. There you go. So, Brother Dean Harris is Atlantic City native. He's going to give us a little bit of what do we see, a little bit about the history, and while he does that, real quick, I do want to shout out to resident Imam of Masjid Muhammad here in Atlantic City, Imam Amin Muhammad. Great to hear. Imam Amin Muhammad is here, resident Imam of Masjid Muhammad here in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So inshallah, we have a lot of guests here who are joining us. So thank you all for attending. We appreciate it, the attendance tonight. So, Brother Dean Harris.
Absolutely. First, I want to give respect to this room, which is named after Fannie Lou Hamer. It's the history of Fannie Lou Hamer in Atlantic City. It was the 1964 Democratic Convention. I don't know if you saw this on YouTube, but a good friend of mine, Brother Kevin Salam, he lived with Fannie Lou Hamer in Mississippi as he was desegregated in the 60s. So I want to give first honor to Fannie Lou Hamer because she demonstrated in her life what it means to live a committed life. We think we make sacrifices, but one of the highlights was that she was beaten by the authorities or beaten by her peers really terribly under the direction of the authorities. And in fact, she became partially blind because of that and had to live. So when we think that we make sacrifices and we think that we are doing something, we should respect those who paid a much bigger price than we're paying now. We're the benefactors of that issue. So I wanted to make sure that Fannie Lou Hamer was presented because she was one that the Quran tells us, "Oh, ye who believe." She responded. She didn't even say, "Oh, you who wear kufis, oh, you who pray 5 times a day." It calls them the believers. So her life was a demonstration of one who believes. So I wanted to mention that first. Second thing, we'll talk about education. The people talk about homeschooling. I want to give a shout out to Sister Claire Muhammad Rahimullah, who homeschooled her children in the 30s. And that was the start of the Muhammad University of Islam, Sister Claire Muhammad schools, in which Imam Bilal and I both alumni. My daughter and my son both are alumni of schools. And my daughter is a high school math teacher now who started an MSA at her school. My 3-year-old grandson is also Arabic descent. So the generations of Muslims who are still valuing education and valuing Islam was all initiated in America under Sister Claire Muhammad. So I wanted to give a little history about what Islamic education is, and a little bit of history of the Islamic education in Atlantic City. I got to shout out to Councilman Khalid Shabazz, who was the first director of Muhammad University in the 70s. He was former Black Panther. He was director of theater of styles. That's Khalid Shabazz. And I was a graduate. I left Atlantic City High School joined the Nation of Islam, and we started the school. It was started by Brother Kaleem and Brother Yusuf Ali, Joseph Fabric Patrick, the drum. He acted as my surrogate father. And he was a very, very committed people. There was not a lot of money. I don't know how much they got paid. I think they paid anything. But Yusuf Ali, he dedicated himself not only to Islamic education in Atlantic City, but he went back and got a PhD and became in charge of the Paul Robeson Center at Rutgers University in the 80s. So that was all from the same lineage. So try to give people a little history. Who would know that if you don't share amongst each other? So I wanted to, Lester Muhammad asked me to give a little history of what's going on. A little bit about myself. I won't talk too much about myself, but a little bit. After I graduated from the University of Islam, my father lived in Philadelphia. I don't know if I see a vein this here, but we go back 50 some odd years. And I lived in Philadelphia for about a year, and then I moved to Chicago and attended engineering school. And so I lived my life in engineering and technology. Just before the internet, before Microsoft was incorporated. So that's good. How far we go back. And so I had the pleasure of, I guess, a highlight being the chief software architect of the first DVD studio that was built. Was a partnership between Warner Brothers and Toshiba, and the first 50,000 DVDs that were printed came from that studio, and it was awarded a technical editing in 1998. So, Allah has blessed me to have a illustrious career, and I'll start from, of course, great schools in Atlantic City, which were great schools back then, in the 60s, Central Junior High, what Central Junior from, and then all to Muhammad University of Islam. So I wanted to give a little history of where we come from, the multi-generation aspect of Islam. So now, my grandchildren, I have 7 grandchildren, 4 children, and all of them have participated in Muhammad school systems. I don't know if there's anything else for you.
Sure, yes. Thank you, Brother Dean Harris, for that. If one of you, Brother Lester or Dean Harris, could talk about the genealogy of the history of leadership here in Atlantic City as relates to the African American community. So mentioned Minister Woodrow Love and Brother Malcolm. If you all could speak to the genealogy of leadership and that relationship real briefly, just to highlight what we saw in the video.
You see Imam Karim Shakur, very professional as well, Rahimullah, on Imam Shakur, and succeeded Brother Imam Shakur with Brother Amir Muhammad, who succeeded. So Islam has continued from that path. And before that, the temple, the Nation of Islam was Dawah Shabazz, or Dean Shabazz, as you remember, he was the minister, and his daughter, Victoria Shabazz, who's another graduate of the University of Islam and a lifelong educator as well. So that's some of the lineage of the ministries during the time when I was a teenager. It was Dean Shabazz, and then when I left, we came back with Imam Shakur, and now Imam Amir Muhammad is taking on that lineage. So if you add it all up, you talk about close to 60 years of genealogy.
Yeah. In Atlantic City, when you look at it, during that period of time, I think when Minister Woodrow maybe retired, Minister John came in from Philly, and between John and Izzadeen, and then after Izzadeen, we had, I think, Mikhail Rashid, and Omar Salahuddin back here. And so you had a few more that was in there that helped in the transitioning of the community from that social reform movement to the best practices of Islam. What is important about how Atlantic City, the role of Atlantic City. You know, because we talk about Atlantic City, New Jersey, but this was the first temple in that social reform movement in the tri-state of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And this was the headquarters for the East Coast during those early years, in the 50s. Very significant. This city has grown by leaps and bounds in terms of the growth. Now in this city, or within a 15-mile radius of this city, you probably have about 7 or maybe 8 centers, schools, and the whole 9 yards. So we have really grown in this area. The area that we really excelled in doing that social reform movement, 2 things that I saw. One was the educational system. Here you had children that were going to school only 3 hours a day. Brother Dean, first graduate. Sister Prolitha, they graduated. Sister Victoria, Shabazz. When she finished her career, I think she was a principal. So coming from that University of Islam, I can go name countless people who went through that University of Islam or Claire Muhammad School. Sister in Chicago, Dr. Lynn Muhammad, running the math department and the STEM for Whitney Young in Chicago. My ex-wife, Sister Deborah Kareem Muhammad, right now is managing 3 healthcare clinics in Charlotte area. There's so many stories of the students that went through the University of Islam and Claire Muhammad School. And that's the one area that was really a gift for us doing that social reform movement those first 45 years. The other thing was the economic development piece. And that was something that was really special for us. Here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, it's still a day. Like sometimes I come back in town and they'll say to me, listen, man, what's going on, man? What's that bean pie, man? I get that fish up. Man, we ain't had that yet. I had a cherry bean, a banana bean, a blueberry bean, a banana. I ain't none of that. What's going on, man? They can't make no pies. And that's true. We have to rebuild our brand. And our brand basically, because basically the Islamic, the knowledge is there. We have scholars all around us. And one of the other things that is really important for us now, I just want to share this with you. During the transition from that social reform movement to the best practices of Islam, I remember in '75, I was in Chicago, Illinois, 21 years old, working on the administrative staff out there. Believe it or not, when Imam Muhammad was out of town, the person who really ran the nation from Chicago was a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Naim Akbar. And trust me, as I said it today, some of the greatest problems that we have now is the mental health issues, not only throughout America, all over the world. And really, I was surprised that we have even here in our Muslim communities. And I'm so glad that we have people like Dr. Brock is still with us in this area, Imam, that will help us. But this is some of the challenges that we have to face today. Very troubling times right now, very troubling times. But the other thing is we have to rebuild that brand. Education, economics, and we have to lead. Imam Muhammad, when he came in office, he said we have to remake the world. It's that order. We can see it. We're sitting here today. Although we're sitting here at this event, we know people suffering all over the world. War in the Middle East, war in Europe. We want peace, and we see all these things happen. So we have to really step it up. As my brother Cleve Shabazz would say, we have to double on double and hold and keep going. See, this is so we have to step it up. We've done a whole lot, but we have a lot more that we can do. One of the takeaways for me, from that social reform movement and as we transitioned into this best practices of Islam, was the fact it was mainly a volunteer type movement from the ground up. The people had a spirit of volunteering and giving back and service, and we need to do that. Prior to 1975, the Nation of Islam had zero nonprofits, was denied. The RS denied us an opportunity to have a nonprofit. We have them all over the place now. We need to step it up. We need to do more. We need to lead. And this is what leadership wanted us to do. That whole movement, 90-some years, to uplift us, to tell us that we were somebody and that we wanted to move forward. And we have to lead. The world is waiting for us. I hear Muslims, people all over, they tell us, when are you Muslims going to step up? When is that Nation of Islam that we do going to step up? Professionals, African Americans, we need you now. They need us now. So we have to say, the time is now. The time is now for us to step up. And to lead, we have to take a leadership role. We have to lead. We have to start leading the world. Because we're in the dark spots right now. And we have to bring them out of the darkness and back into the light. And that light is the Quran and Sunnah. Imam Muhammad, in his last khutbah that he gave, 2008, in Detroit, I'm just paraphrasing what he said. He said, we have to look back at that model that was established in Medina by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings on him. And let us not deviate and go back in the darkness after we've been and got it right. He made it crystal clear what we should be looking at, the model that we should be following. Crystal clear, no doubt in our mind. So we have to step it up. And Atlantic City has done a lot. Atlantic City has been in the forefront. Atlantic City has done a lot. I remember one day, the captain in Philadelphia asked me, he said, how did number 10 get its number before 12, Philadelphia? I said, it was those brothers and those pioneers in Atlantic City, this the shoulders that we're standing on today. We could just name some of those, not only just brothers, but sisters. Sister Florence, Sister Gertrude, Sister Latifah. All of these sisters, these were Captain Eleanor. These were sister soldiers on the front line. Sister Law. All of these sisters that stood up, right, and they were there and just giving back. Giving back. Whether it was education systems, I mean, they were just giving. So we have to get into that spirit again. And we have to get back to that. And we have to step it up. Not that we haven't been doing it, but we see what's going on in the world today. We have to double our efforts now and keep it moving.
Thank you, Brother Lester Muhammad. Dean Harris, we'll let you close out 1 minute. If you could tell us, to give you this question, the importance of Black History Month, which we're in now. And the question is, how does Al-Islam, why should we celebrate Al-Islam and his achievement and his connection with Black History Month during this time? Why should we celebrate?
That's a good question. Well, Al-Islam is advocated to save the Black community from the trauma, from our 400 years of trauma, right? If you look at what we've been through historically as a people and what we're trying to, what we're doing, it's different progressions or so. That Al-Islam becomes the moral fabric. The Quran and Sunnah becomes the moral fabric to guide us, to restore our families, health, education, and welfare, and to give us that moral foundation to move forward. So that's my point.
Thank you, Brother Dean Harris. So let's give it up. Thank you for Brother Dean Harris, for Lester Muhammad, so much. And now, inshallah, we'll turn the program back to the MSA, and I think it's time to get some grub.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful session. So I just wanted to say at this break before we start back up with our session 2. But I do want you guys during this break, during this 15 minutes break, please go around the room. We have poster boards up, we have the exhibit up. We also have vendors as well. And I just want to shout out the vendors real quick. We have Wadia's Clothing. Please give it up for them. We have Nadia's Resin Art. We have the Juice Trap. We have Nana's Pudding. We have Stitches. We have Zeed's Picks. And we have One Bossy Butterfly. So during this intercession break, please check the vendors out. Please support your local businesses. Oftentimes, we are the ones who put our own community out of business. So please check them out. And at this time, we're also going to take a food break. And speaking of bean pie, especially we have bean pie for you guys. So the speakers, can you guys please get food, and then the rest of us will follow. Thank you.
I have to leave at 7:30 because I have another event, unfortunately.
That's fine. Thank you, bro. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to mention that 7:20 to 7:25, we're going to start the second session back up. So you guys can be sitting, eating, and then we're going to have the second session. Thank you. So please don't leave nowhere.
Peace, 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 slums, slums. If you want to be on the Bean Pie cam, we have a Bean Pie camera in the back. If it's your first time trying out the Bean Pie, if you want to come to the Bean Pie camera in the back, we want to record you. You want to be on the Bean Pie camera. Your first time trying out the Bean Pie. The Bean Pie was actually made by my brother Mujahideen in the back, passed down from his family. So, inshallah, if you want to be on the Bean Pie camera, come to the back. We'll love to get your review. Thank you. I don't see me. I need the camera to be switched over. I need the camera switched over. Oh, I got it. Okay, hold on. All right. If you could say your name.
Rachel.
Rachel? Oops. Given. Okay, we have Rachel and Given. They're about to do the live bean pie tasting test. Let's see. Go ahead. It's good? What says you, Given? It's good? It's finger licking good. First of all, to eat a pie with a fork is kind of blasphemy, but it's okay. You guys let it pass. We usually eat it with our hands because it's what we call finger licking good. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Given, for coming to the bean pie camp. This is what we call the prosperity pie. This is the prosperity pie right here. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Let's see who else wants to be on the bean pie camp. Sister Wadia's clothing here, live. Say salams, we're live.
You hosted something else. I feel like I saw you doing the same thing. You do it a lot. Okay, so I saw you somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm like, why does he look like?
We got the juice joint in here. The juice trap. Excuse me. The juice trap.
Yes, he's the best.
He's the best. Get in where you fit in. You say he's almost sold out. What I mean, what's the flavors like? What you got? I mean, what's here?
We got the sour sop.
Sour sop.
Kale, green apple.
Okay.
And cucumber.
Okay.
Got the sour sop, sea moss.
Okay.
And coconut water. And beet, pear, apple.
Okay. Okay. The juice joint. And what else? What else you got? You got some more products here.
We got sea moss capsules.
Mm-hmm.
Spirulina capsules.
Mm-hmm.
And sour sop leaf capsules.
Okay. And what's this right here?
Elderberry.
Elderberry. That's raw elderberry? Raw.
This is the syrup.
Okay, nice. I just
Put it all out, man.
Wow. All out, as you see, brothers and sisters. The Juice Trap. Find them on Instagram right there, the Juice Trap 33. Inshallah, I'll take a card myself. Thank you. We have Nana's Good Pudding here. I like the setup. I like this visual. This board right here. This is nice. I like it. Putting on a great show. Love to play on words. Got Islamic literature, Seal Nectar, Fortress of the Muslim, Stories of the Prophet. You know, we got some books too. Come get you some literature, some scarves. Nail polish. What's your name, sister? Rabia. Okay, this is, what's the name of the business? Stitches by Rabia. Okay, alhamdulillah. We got Z's Kicks, buy, sell, and trade. Some of Z's Kicks. You got a whole setup right here. A whole setup. So come on by, get you some Z's Kicks, buy, sell, and trade. My brother, your brother Z?
Yeah, I'm his brother, Yusuf.
Your brother Yusuf, where's he at? Is he getting food? All right, alhamdulillah. All right, brother Z's Kicks, no problem. Alhamdulillah. What we got here? Hello. What do we have? One bossy butterfly, okay.
I have some shirts, bags, cups, just a couple of little things. I have a little bit of everything. Wreaths.
Okay.
Essential bags.
Okay.
Lip gloss.
Nice.
I share.
Nice.
How are you? I saw this. I shared it on my page, but I
Do you have any more volunteers for the Bean Pie camera? Huh? Oh. I mean, need some more bean pie camera action, man. Your brother's got your bean pies, man? Did you get pies? What y'all waiting for, man? Yeah, look, it's finger licking good. It's gonna go, man.
I told him to finish your page first, so like, you know, we're not too hungry after, because
Okay.
people always send me food.
Alhamdulillah, it's good.
We're going to start our second session back up.
Okay, we're starting second session now, beloveds.
So if you guys can please, if you got your food, please take a seat.
Wait, what?
Hey guys, if you guys got your food, please take a seat. We're going to be starting the second session in a minute. Thank you.
Second session about to start, inshallah. Second session about to start. Imam Amin, Council Member Kaleem Shabazz.
No, seriously. Just a long time to ensure this. It's different.
You want me to leave her alone? Yeah, leave her alone. She can leave her alone. Okay, then just Hello, everyone. We're going to start our second session now, introducing Imam Amin. Khalid Shabazz.
Assalamu alaikum. I bear witness the testimony that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is the seal of the prophets. My respected sisters and brothers, I greet you again. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, let me say to all of the participating and sponsoring organizations that this is, in my estimation, a very, very excellent program, and you are to be commended for the work you have done in putting this program together. As you know, we're coming to the closing days of African American History Month, which just happens to be the shortest month in the calendar, but the ability to recognize the contributions of African Americans, especially African American Muslims, is very critical, especially in 2024, when we see that there are forces in our country if you can close the door, sister. Brother, you can close the door. Not that I think that what the man and I have to say is more important than anybody else, but I think it is important for you to hear what we do have to say. Can you hear me? Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. You know, what we're doing here is historic. Almost sometimes difficult to put together. So there's a level of honoring it. So we can eat, we can drink, and we can listen. This history you're talking about, the man that's talking has been with that history for over 50 years. Out of honor for that history, we should listen, right? Attentively and benefit. So he's not gonna have a voice like me. So please, let's try to give our due attention. Barakallahu. Thank you, brother man. Again, I want to thank all of the sponsoring organizations to put this program on. It's a very important program. It's a very important effort because we see a determined effort in our country to push back, to distort, to erase, to leave out the contributions of people of color in this country. And that is a disturbing trend. And I would suggest to you that not only is it a disturbing trend, it is a trend that is a danger to all of us who say that we are Muslims. Because if we allow the contributions and the history of people of color to be distorted, to be mistreated, to be left out of the history of America, then we open the door to have your history left out and distorted and avoided. African American History Month is the shortest month in the calendar year. But I would suggest to you that what you're doing tonight, as the man just said, is historic. The truth of the matter is that Islam in America started with African Americans who didn't have the proper theological understanding of Islam, but had, as Brother Lester has said, a social reform desire. African Americans who, after 300 years of mistreatment, over 300 years of terrorism and violence, over 300 years of slavery and subjugation, they were given a charge to bring them out of the condition that they were forced in because of slavery. And that's why some of my learned Muslim brothers, they look at the experience of the Nation of Islam out of the context of what our history was. They look at the experience of the Nation of Islam and the history without taking into context that when the Nation of Islam started in 1930, here in America, we had just come through a period when people were actually lynched in this country, people of color, without any consequence. Not politically lynched like Justice Thomas talked about in his hearing, physically lynched. This is a crowd of students, and I would suggest to you that you look up the book, 100 Years of Lynching, by a gentleman named Ginsberg, who was a reporter. And in this book, he details actual lynchings in this country. He details the date, the time, the sequence of events, the name of the person who was lynched. And this actually happened in our country. In the New York Star, not New York, the New York Star Ledger this Sunday, there was a couple of articles talking about race riots that actually happened in this country, where people of color were actually killed with no consequence. In fact, many times people in law enforcement were involved in these lynchings, were involved in these killings, were involved in the desecration of houses of worship, of African-American businesses, of African-American hospitals. Why am I saying all that? Because you have to look at the history of how Islam was developed in America, developed on a background of subjugation. In fact, in the Nation of Islam, we had on the board of the Nation of Islam, when people were teaching, the ministers, they had a picture of a person actually was lynched. And it said that Islam was freedom, justice, and equality. And the teaching was then that Islam was a way to dignify the people in North America, the people of color, who were denied not only citizenship, but were denied humanity. So why am I saying that? Because if you understand the history of African Americans and their treatment in this country, you can understand how they were attracted to a teaching of Islam that does not comport with the theology that we have the ability to understand today. You can understand how a teacher came and said that the white man was the devil and how people accepted that. We wouldn't accept that today theologically, but if you look at the condition of our country and the condition of the people that he was speaking to, you can understand how they accepted that message, that the white man is the devil, because of the treatment that not only they were undergoing, but that their parents and their grandparents had undergone. So when this teaching came, saying that the white man is the devil based on his treatment of the African American citizens in this country, people gravitated to that teaching because that was an accurate description of the condition that they lived under and the condition that their foreparents lived under. So when this teacher said that the white man is the devil, and the way for you to get your freedom is to accept Islam as he taught it, that made sense at that time, in that context, to that condition. Now, if someone came and brought that teaching today, you would find that people would say, no, brother, we can't accept that teaching today. We can't accept a teaching that suggests that people of a different ethnic group has a different origin than the rest of us. Islam doesn't accept that. Islam rejects that. But the truth of the matter is, for over 345 years in this country, people who look differently than the white ruling class, the white plantation owners, were treated differently. That's why today you see people who are members of the Nation of Islam, they changed their name. And the reason they changed their name, because if your name was Smith, that was because your slave owner was Smith, and you became property of Smith. If your name was Jones, that was because you were owned by Mr. Jones. Why am I saying all that? To say and suggest to you that the African American Muslim who stood up in America and said that we are Muslims and we want Islam to be our religion and our way of life, need to get the attention and support and realization of what they did. And I would also say to you that if it was not for those early pioneers, those early people who were poor and who were striving and who did not have the theological advantages that we have today, if it were not for them standing up and saying that we are Muslims and establishing, as Brother Lester said, businesses and schools and more than 77 numbered temples across this country, that the climate and the atmosphere for Muslims who are here today would not be what it is today. Does that mean that we are belittling people who came from other countries to come to America? No. Does that mean that we are putting them down? No. But it does mean that we must recognize the foundation and the building blocks of Islam. And right here in Atlantic City, there was a time in Atlantic City when you said Muslims, the profile, the picture of Muslims was people of color, because that's what Islam was at that time. Obviously today, we're blessed with people from all over the world. We're blessed with diversity. We're blessed with people who have come to Atlantic City to live and to prosper and to be part of our culture. One more last thing before I turn it over to the man. There's an article that I only made 50 copies of, but I made some more. The theme of this article is the faith of Black America has been a gift to this nation. The faith of Black America has been a gift to this nation. And it is written by Imam El-Amin, who is a leader in Chicago under the leadership of Imam Wafiddin Muhammad, who I believe helped save this country. Tariq El-Amin. Why do I believe that Imam Muhammad helped save this country? Because people who followed his leadership, even though they were African Americans, and even though their history is one of the absolute terror of living in America, they embraced Islam in a non-violent fashion. They embraced Islam and embraced people who had mistreated their forefathers and their grandparents, and they said that we are Americans. In fact, not only did they say they were Americans, they participated in armed services that other people had done. They participated in government, elected officials, industrial leaders, and I would suggest to you that what the African American Muslim has done is an example for Muslims all around the world who are mistreated, who are subjugated, who are terrorized. But I would say that the African American Muslim has shown that even though your treatment is inhuman, that you should not abandon your Islamic principles, your Islamic values, and how you relate and treat other human beings. In other words, we can't let our treatment bring us down to the level of our oppressors. Does that mean that we accept oppression? No, we don't accept oppression. But we don't make Islam something that we turn off and turn to terrorism or turn to violence or turn to vengeance. So having said that, let me turn it over to Imam Amin, and thank you very much for your attention. بسم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يجعل اجتماعنا مباركا. Inshallah ta'ala, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this gathering of ours a beneficial and blessed gathering. Before I start, I want to give one person flowers and then a group of people flowers. The one person is the president of the MSA, who doesn't realize the value of what she's doing today and how huge it is. Sister Vicar, can you stand up, please? This gathering in Atlantic City, especially talking about the legacy of Black Muslims, African American Muslims, in itself is historic in this time. I'm telling you that as the last surviving African American imam with a community left after 70 years, that's huge to be recognized still. And I want to thank you for that. But she didn't do it alone. She had her staff in the MSA, and I would like all y'all to stand up and so we can thank y'all. And I spent a lot of time with them, so I know how hard they work on a regular basis to put on events, to spread knowledge. They work very hard, so we shouldn't forget their efforts. What I wanted to do is give you a little more light on the history of Islam in Atlantic City in general. From all accounts that we can trace, the practice of Islam in Atlantic City itself was at the hands of African Americans. And that goes all the way back to the early 1940s. Now, I want to put everything in context. Context is important because Islam in America in general, in the West, is a developmental stages. We still have stages to grow. So where we started doesn't mean where we're going to end. Where we're at today doesn't mean what we're going to look like 50 years from now. So history should be for us a map, a guide to what we need to do for the future in the present. I like to always say history should be celebrated and remembered, but not repeated. If you keep living in history, you will never make a better future. Though history has the elements to teach you how to use your present to make a better future. It's very important. So, the first establishment, as you saw in the video, was in 1954. So we're talking 70 years ago. 1954. But prior to that, in the mid-40s, they were in each other's houses. Prior to an official temple, they were meeting in houses. And I want to show you sometimes history repeating itself in this journey. Keep remember, they were in houses, meeting with each other. The first official temple, which was temple number 10, was in 1954, and it was on the 700 block of Indiana Avenue. The 700 block of Indiana Avenue. Before 419 Madison Avenue, they were on the 700 block of Indiana Avenue. Historically, that means a lot to me. You know why? I own property on that block. A huge property that in my mind, when I thought about that, I said I need to rent that property another space so that it would return back. It takes up the whole block. I was thinking about that. Wouldn't that be nice to turn that property where it started, that area? And that area, under the leadership of Councilman Shabazz, is designed for such a purpose. It's a historic block on the west side of Atlantic City in the African American community. And that's the projects that are being put there. Why not the Muslims have a portion there? It's something to think about. From that time, you're going to learn something about commitment and about leadership. From 1954 all the way to 1970 was under the leadership of Minister Woodrow X. You're talking about 16 to 17 years of leadership. 16 to 17 years of pay attention to history. It's very important. I'm talking about Atlantic City. 1970, you have another minister that comes in, Minister Izzeddin Shabazz, who lasts all the way up to 1979, roughly. The Nation of Islam, at the death of Elijah Muhammad in 1975, transitions and develops in its understanding, in its theological practice, and in its belief under his son, Imam Murfadin Muhammad, rahimahullah, rahmatul wasiyah. And they move from a certain religious conviction and practice to a more traditional level of understanding the religion. That's a stage. In Atlantic City, that continues for 4 years until Imam Murfadin Muhammad, under his leadership, Atlantic City was under the control of Philadelphia. Many people don't know this history. Atlantic City has always been under the control of someone else, meaning the leadership. So Imam Qari, rahimahullah ta'ala, was sent to Atlantic City as the Imam, and he served as the Imam. I always specifically brought this. Between 78 and 79, we did have another Imam, was Imam Mikhail Abdul Rashid. And even though his tenure was small, he was the Imam of Masjid Muhammad. And he shouldn't be forgotten, rahimahullah ta'ala. After him, Imam Qari Shakur lasts from 1979 all the way to 2009, his death. 30 years of leadership. So we're talking 17, a little interim of 1 year, the passing for 30 years, and upon his death, I became the Imam of Masjid Muhammad, and I've been there almost 15 years now. No community in Atlantic City has that historic record of continuous leadership for 70 years. You should think about that. In 70 years, we only count 5 leaders in Masjid Muhammad or from temple number 10. That in itself is a historic lesson of commitment, of leadership, of followership. But that's Masjid Muhammad, which today in Atlantic City is the African-American leadership. I want you to think about that. It's a crucial element of history. Not because I happen to be the imam, whoever was the imam in that position is in a historic position in Atlantic City, whoever it may be. But let me tell you why. Because there were other Muslims in Atlantic City who established masjids that get forgotten sometime in the discussion, and we shouldn't do that. In 1975, 76, 77, 78, there was the Darul Islam movement here in Atlantic City under the leadership of the Imam in that time. His name was Jabbar. They call him Naib Jabbar now. He's in Virginia. That was in the 70s. And they were, from the time of the transition to the leadership of Imam Mufti Muhammad, they were here in Atlantic City on Indiana Avenue between Arctic and Atlantic. So those who are historically been around, they were here. And they were Sunni Muslims under the leadership of Imam Yahya Abdul Karim in Brooklyn, New York, which was the Darul Islam movement. So even still in Atlantic City, our leadership was centered somewhere else. Philadelphia, New York. Even though there were two communities, that's a historic record that should not be forgotten. So when we tell our story, we tell our history, don't forget it. Right? During the time, I embraced Islam, when I say out of Shahada, for religious convictions. We don't want to open that can of worms so no one get their feelings hurt. Right? But in 1980, I was 10 years old when I took my Shahada. Imam Qari Shakur had just become the Imam 1 year. At that time, the Masjid Muhammad was on Center Street, next to the City Hall for you young people. You know the Black City Hall? There's a little street right behind it, Center Street. Remember Ice School Plaza? Right. It's next to Stockton Baptist Church, right in front of it. And I remember days in that masjid as a young kid. We used to do itikaf at night. And a lot of the elders, most of them have passed. Some of them are still alive. We would stay in the masjid all night. They had a school, they had things going on. It was a community. One community. Everybody in Atlantic City had their start right there. There was no other masjid. So if immigrants came, if people came from out of town, everybody went to Masjid Muhammad. So when we were young kids, we started, because we wasn't following Imam Mufti Muhammad at that time, but it was the only masjid. We were what were called Ansarullah. So our base was in Brooklyn, New York. And it was mostly the young people in the city that was doing that. So most of the young guys that are 55 and under, a lot of them came to Islam through the Ansarullah community in the 80s. And in the neighborhoods, and we established a center on Pennsylvania Avenue. Pennsylvania and Drexel. Pennsylvania and Drexel. Then, around the mid-80s, I want to show you something because I'm giving this historic lesson so you can follow what happens, how we reach today. Around the mid-80s, the Tabligh Jamaat came to Atlantic City. I don't know if y'all heard of Jamaat, the Tabligh. They go to masjid and give da'wah and sleep in the masjid and go to door to door. That's Jamaat Tabligh. They came to Masjid Muhammad in the early mid-1980s. 82, 83, 84, 85. And the sheikh of that time was Maulana Zubair. They had others, but he was like the one who stayed in Atlantic City. He stayed right behind Moses Bar on the west side. I remember this stuff vividly. I was there. We used to walk to Fajr together. I would come from Pitney Village, and we would meet up in Baccarat and then walk to the masjid together. I remember it very well like it was yesterday. And he was the one he had studied in India, an African American, for 11 years at Darul Uloom in India. He was a scholar, and he's still alive today in Texas. May Allah give him good health. So you had the leadership of Imam Mufti Muhammad as the leadership under Imam Qari, and you had elders, brothers that were older than me. Now, when I say elders, these guys were only in their 20s. Like, you should think about this and compare it to today. Councilman Shabazz and all of them, they're talking about when they were in their 20s, top 30s. These wasn't old people, these were young people. Active, which shows you this time, because consciousness was available. So young people were involved. The age you are as college, they were active in building communities, businesses, fighting oppression at the same age you are in college right now. They were working against an oppressive system. And so it's telling you, don't say you're too young. If you study history, young people were the ones making history. You're not too young. In fact, this is where you should be the most involved at your young age. So, what happened in that time, there was, remember I told you the transition from the nation to the leadership of Imam Mufti Muhammad, there was, at that time, 83, 84, there became another development in theology and understanding of the deen. So what happened, they went and started another masjid, which became known as the Islamic Center on, at that time, Illinois Avenue, which is Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard today. I know that I was there. And our brother Umar, you remember those days? we were on the ground with it. That masjid, there was many discussions in the Imam's little office. As soon as you walk in the masjid to the right, there was a little office there, and we would be in there discussing issues. I was a little kid at that time, but I told you the youth, that they were 20s, and I was in my teens, and we'd be in there engaging, talking, going, right? So when that happened, that was under African American leadership. They started under the Tabligh Jamaat. Then Imam Naib Jabbar, who had already been out of the city, in 88, 89, he came back to Atlantic City. Remember I told you about the Dar Islam movement? Well, what happened in New York, the Dar Islam movement separated into two groups when a Pakistani sheikh named Sheikh Mubarak Shah Jilani, rahimahullah, when he came to America, he took some of the people, and I won't say it's bad or good, that's not what we're discussing when we're talking about history. He had a group of them, some of them, like the Imam was Yahya Abdul Karim, they went to follow Imam Sheikh Jalani, and the others went to follow H-Rap Pound Jamil Alameen. May Allah free him from the situation. That was the division that happened in New York, and when he came back to Atlantic City, he introduced the people in Atlantic City to the followership of Mubarak Shah Jilani. And the Dawah Center made that transition. Some of the brothers transitioned to that, and some remained on the Tabligh following and ended up moving to Detroit. This is history. These were all African Americans. Towards the end of that time, you had Egyptians, Pakistanis coming to the masjid on Illinois Avenue, and ultimately, at that time, I left, I went overseas. So I was gone. And I didn't come back from that time. That was 88, 89, 89, and beginning of 89 to 2000. In my life, we're going to talk about that other journey part. But when I came back, I saw the beginning of the split, the immigrants from the African American community. I was here for the beginning of that. And that's how Taqwa developed, right? That was a split between the African American leadership and basically the Egyptians and some Pakistanis who didn't want to follow black people. I'll be honest about this stuff. It's important for you to understand history. And they started another masjid. Fast forward. That was the position of Atlantic City. When I came back in 2000, another movement had developed in Atlantic City that wasn't here in the past. That was the Salafi movement. And it started in Masjid Muhammad. How do I know? I was coming back from studying when my sheikh said, Imam Qari Shakur is in Atlantic City. Do you know him? My sheikh was from Lebanon. I said, I know him very well. I grew up since a kid from him. He said, go back to Atlantic City and help him. He sent me to the masjid. And I had been working with Imam Qari since that time. That broke off to another masjid, which became Masjid Furqan. Originally, it was on Adriatic Avenue above Venus. Atlantic City people know Venus. Then it moved to, over the barbershop. So that was another African-American community. When I became the imam at Masjid Muhammad, I was the assistant imam. Prior to that, you had Bengalis and Egyptians in Masjid Muhammad. They had a Saturday school was the Bengalis, and the Sunday school was the Egyptians. The Egyptians eventually were the first to leave, and they worked with Taqwa to start Egg Harbor Township Masjid. I'm just telling you the story so you can trace all this stuff. The Bengalis ultimately left and started Masjid Hira. So you can see the surface of Atlantic City. You see how it went. Hira lasts together maybe 4 years, something like that. And now that's how you got the new Islamic Center on Florida Avenue. That's the scope of Atlantic City. Go back from all those years, you saw African American leadership setting the trend for Atlantic City in Islam. It's always been the voice of Islam in politics and everything. Today we have a job. I mentioned all this for a reason, and I'll stop after this. When you know history, you know how to combat the hardships and obstacles that are presented by history, and you can also pick up the benefits from it. What am I saying? If you want to honor the legacy of African American Muslims in Atlantic City, don't let them be forgotten. Historically and presently. I say this all the time in the mornings in my lectures. As a community, we have been given an understanding that was counterproductive to our development. And today, the African American Islamic community in Atlantic City is suffering from that. It's suffering from the fact that we no longer chart our own course like we did in the past. That's a challenge for us as a community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the rope of Allah together and don't separate. Most of our young students, you have a chance to contribute to the history of Islam in Atlantic City by never becoming divisive. Learn from history what division can do and don't repeat it. Go the opposite way. Find ways that you can cooperate despite your differences. Don't ignore your differences because you won't cooperate because you'll be fake. Admit your differences. But despite them, as we look at this historic record, you still have many things you can benefit from. We do it every week, don't we? Every week we get together and we work together hand in hand. We have to bring that to the city. So, in closing, I have a challenge for us, for the youth and for the elders. Work on behalf of the Ummah. Atlantic City has the potential to be leaders for the country and examples for the country. Because all of us, despite where we may be, all know this history and have our portion of it. Every single one of us who are natives of the city understand this history. Remember the glory years? Remember that what you feel? Remember the hard times? Remember that we went through that? Atlantic City is actually a family. And you want to know that quick? Come to a janazah, you'll see. We are family. We need to act like that. Families differ, families disagree, families go through it, but families always do what? Come together. That's how we gotta think. And all of y'all as students at Stockton, we welcome you to the Atlantic City Muslim family. It can be dysfunctional sometimes, but it's a family. And you gotta be a part of it and play your role. This is a part of your role. But I say this, our challenge is to bring all the masajid to cooperate with one another. That's not an easy task, but it's doable. It's doable. For me, as the Imam of Masjid Muhammad, I say this, we're going to be principled, so we're not going to sacrifice our principles for nobody. But at the same time, wherever there's means to cooperation, we're going to do it. We're going to work where we can. And the areas that we are not able to cooperate are not as vast as the areas we can cooperate. And that's fine. What we can do together, far greater than what we can. So let's work together. And I plead the MSA, Stockton, the politicians, you're going to be at the forefront of this because Allah put you in a position that maybe the imams or the boards can't get together, but when you call, they're coming. So you got to put out the call. You got to play your role. They're going to come. It's politically correct to come. So you got to put out the call and do the work. And we're going to support you in doing good because you know what needs to happen? All of us with gray need to get out the way. Seriously. All of us with gray need to get, it's bars, come on. We need to get out the way. But in order to get out the way, we got to trust that you're not going to drop the baton. We'll get out the way. We're looking to get out the way. But you got to carry the baton. So that's my suggestion. Lastly, one shameless plug. July 11th to the 14th, July 11th for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, will be, inshallah, the largest gathering of African American Muslims in the country right here in Atlantic City. For almost 5 years, Atlantic City has been leading the charge in the African American community in terms of conferences around the country with our African American Summit. This year is going to be an Islamic Unity Conference, the 11th to the 14th at the Harris Conference Center, Convention Center. So it's huge. Already scheduled, confirmed, are some of the foremost imams in the Black American Sunni community. Imam Zaid Shaker from Zaytuna College in California. Imam Siraj Wahaj of Masjid al-Taqwa. Imam Talib Abdul Rashid, which is the successing masjid from the leadership of Malcolm X. He will be here. Sheikh Abu Muslima from the Ahl Sunnah Masjid in East Orange, which was the center of the Salafi movement in the Black community in America. He will be here. Dr. Issan Betsby, who is the leader and head, along with his brother Joshua, of MANA. MANA is the largest African American organization in the country. It is the African American Muslims, Islam and Hitler. They will be here. And Imam Dawood Wali, who's the leader of CARE, y'all all know CARE, in Detroit, he will be here. Dr. Rudolph Ware, a PhD in African Studies, he will be here. And the list goes on. So mark that Atlantic City will be leading in the country for our communities. May Allah make it successful. With this, we're done. We're out of time. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you. That was beautifully said. My name is Vanessa Belia, and I'm the president of Unified Black Student Society. I would like to now call up all of the co-sponsors for this event to join me. Is anybody who's from Sankofa? Yes. I will now be saying a speech on Black resilience. I mean a poem, my bad. In the face of adversity, we rise up and stand tall. We draw from our strength and never let ourselves fall. Our history is rich, full of struggle and strife, but through it all, we've learned to navigate life. We faced discrimination and been denied our rights, but we've never given up. We continue to fight. Our resilience is unmatched. We keep pushing ahead, and we know we're capable of overcoming any dread. We stand together, united and strong. Our spirit unbroken, we keep marching on. So let us celebrate Black resilience and power, for we are forced to be reckoned with every minute and every hour. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone for coming out. Thank you to our speakers. If we can get all the speakers up here. Can we get all our speakers up here, please? And thank you so much for everyone for coming out. And yes, what to say? I'm overwhelmed, and thank you guys so much, seriously. Thank you. Do we have time for questions or not? Does anyone have any questions? We can take like 10 minutes for questions. So if anyone have any questions, this is the time now to ask. Any questions? No?
I'll think of one.
All right, I guess since we have no questions, that concludes our event tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to all the collaborators as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Can you take pictures?
Yeah.
Negroes in this country are confronted by is with a re-education program, not a re-education program for